May I ask those of you that have a cell phone with them, if you please turn it off or to silent. Should you still be carrying a pager as well, make sure it's off too. Thank you.
We gather today with heavy hearts to bid farewell to our beloved mother, grandmother, matriarch, and dear friend, Gloria Charlin. It's customary in this time of grief to listen to the voice of our sacred scriptures, and we will momentarily. But Gloria's wish, and she was very specific in her wishes, was that Cantor Haas should sing Yerushalayim Shel Zahav. And so in a rather unconventional twist, we are going to begin our service with the singing of this beautiful song. And the poignant note here is the verse, Im eshkechech Yerushalayim, if I forget thee, O Jerusalem. And so today we remember not only our beloved Jerusalem, but our beloved Gloria.
This connection with Gloria began during one of the Greater Miami Federation's mega missions to Israel a few years ago, when Howard and Gloria invited me to their hotel room to sing Yerushalayim Shel Zahav. I sang Yerushalayim Shel Zahav, Gloria beamed, and Howard cried. So join me if you'd like to. The olive trees that stand in silence upon the hills of time, to hear the voices of the city as bells of evening chime, the shofar sounding from the temple to call the world to prayer. The shepherd pauses in the valley, and peace is everywhere. Yerushalayim shel zahav, v'shel nechoshet v'shel or, halo lechol shiraich, ani kinor. Yerushalayim shel zahav, v'shel nechoshet v'shel or, halo lechol shiraich, ani kinor. The water well for those who thirsted, the ancient market square, your golden sun that lights the future for people everywhere. How many songs, how many stories the stony hills recall. Around her heart my city carries a lonely ancient wall. Yerushalayim shel zahav, v'shel nechoshet v'shel or, halo lechol shiraich, ani kinor. Yerushalayim shel zahav, v'shel nechoshet v'shel or, halo lechol shiraich, ani kinor. And far away beyond the desert, 1,000 suns will glow. We shall be going to the Jordan by way of Jericho. My simple voice cannot acclaim thee, too weak the words I choose. Jerusalem, if I forget thee, May my right hand its cunning lose. Yerushalayim shel zahav, v'shel nechoshet v'shel or, halolecho shiraich ani kinor. Yerushalayim shel zahav, v'shel nechoshet v'shel or, halolecho shiraich ani kinor, kinor.
As we search for comfort from our loss of Gloria Charlin, dear matriarch of the beloved Charlin family, and an honored matriarch of our Jewish community, we will recite the sacred words of the 23rd Psalm. These words remind us that God is not only with us during the exceptional highs of life, but also in the seemingly insurmountable lows as well. During some of her most challenging moments over the past few months of her illness, I sensed that Gloria did feel the comfort of the divine in her life. We would sing together a repertoire of Hebrew songs and prayers, songs like Mishaberach, Hine Matov, Shalom Alechem, all of which seemed to give her such joy and a sense of great comfort. Although there were times when Chloe struggled to articulate her thoughts, she was always able to sing along with every word of these traditional prayers. Let us also seek to find comfort for ourselves in our time of need as we recite the words together of the 23rd Psalm.
Adonai ro'i lo exar bino deshe yarbitseni, almei menachot yanachaleni nafshi shovev, yancheni v'maglei tzedek leman shmo, gam ki elech begeit sal mavet, lo ira ra ki atai madi, shiftecha mishantecha hema yanachamuni, ta'aral lefanai shocha neged sorarai, teshanta v'shemen roshi kosi ravaya, ach tov v'chesed yirdefuni kol yemei chayai, v'shafti b'veit Adonai lo'orak yamim. Please join with me. The Lord is my shepherd, I shall not want. He maketh me to lie down in green pastures. He leadeth me beside the still waters. He restoreth my soul. He guideth me in straight paths for his name's sake. Yea, though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I will fear no evil, for thou art with me. Thy rod and thy staff, they comfort me. Thou preparest a table before me in the presence of mine enemies. Thou hast anointed my head with oil, my cup runneth over. Surely goodness and mercy shall follow me all the days of my life, and I shall dwell in the house of the Lord forever.
Every Friday night, it is customary to sing a hymn called Eshet Chayil, a woman of valor, to the woman of the household to recognize and to express gratitude for her efforts in sustaining and contributing to the home and giving generously to the community. It is describing the original superwoman whose light never goes out, whose generosity knows no bounds, whose wisdom is sought after, whose love heals those around her, whose strength lifts up the fallen, whose optimism never falters, and whose values are admired. The 17th century Kabbalists understood this beautiful poem from Proverbs 31 allegorically as a representation of the Shekhinah, the feminine presence of God. What a fitting illustration of Chloe, the beloved mother and grandmother to my lifetime friends who are more like family, a respected community leader, and a faithful friend to countless people who claim to be her dear friend. The ancient psalmist may have written this poem for those women who were exemplars in their community, and I see it as a perfect description of Gloria Charlin, a woman of valor who earned that revered moniker through the words that she spoke, the priorities she set, and the behavior that she demonstrated. Gloria is one of the last grand dames of our community, a woman who walked with confidence and pride, dignity, and elegance. I want to share with you a few lines of a contemporary reading of Eshet Chayil, written by Kohenet Ahava Lilith Evershine, that I think also describes our dear Glowy and the Eshet Chayil that she was. Today's woman of valor trusts in herself, and her fortune is found in the size of her heart and how she wishes to share it. She is generous of heart and spirit. She shares every facet of her prosperity with others. She seeks to make her home a sanctuary, a place where she can be replenished and share time with those that she loves. Today's woman of valor is ever conscious of her thoughts and actions and the effect that they have on herself, others, and the world. She allows the light of her heart to guide her. The way she speaks and moves, dresses, and carries herself expresses who she is and how she feels about herself. She is not afraid of aging and knows that every wrinkle on her skin is a line in the story of her life. She possesses an inner beauty that radiates so strongly that it is the first thing that one sees when they look at her. She is a living embodiment of the divine feminine and is aware of and celebrates the divinity within herself. She feels proud of all that she does in the world, whether great or small, whom she loves in the world, one and all. This is how today's woman of valor lives her life, and this is how Gloria Charlin lived her life as well. Zichrona Livracha, may the memory of Gloria Charlin serve as inspiration for all women and men she touched in her life to honor and follow with these honorable words of praise in our own lives. Thank you.
A woman of valor, who can find? Rachok mipni michra. Her precious life is like a jewel. A mother, a wife, bless this woman all of her life. A mother, a wife, bless this woman all of her life. Eshet Chayil Mimsa, a woman of valor, who can find? V'rachok mipni michra. Her precious life is like a jewel. A mother, a wife, bless this woman all of her life. A mother, a wife, bless this woman all of her life. Eshet Chayil Mimsa, a woman of valor, who can find? Rachok mipni michra. Her her precious life is like a jewel, a jewel.
As many of you know, Gloria died just as the holiday of Purim was beginning. Purim, the most joyful holiday of the year, when we celebrate Queen Esther's beauty and courage and how she saved the Jewish people through a plan of her own. Gloria, too, was once a queen, or I should say twice a queen of Miami Beach Senior High for 2 years. Her beauty, her grace, her dignity, and her regal nature were evident even as a teenager. And yet, despite her beauty and her popularity, she was always humble and incredibly grateful for all that she had. Here at Temple Beth Sholom, Gloria was always seated right in the front row where Peggy sits. Her presence was always felt there. She was an avid fan, and so she was front and center, and I can picture her there right now. And she would sit often with my mother right by her side, another avid fan. And though Gloria would often have a courtesy Temple Beth Sholom blue blanket wrapped around her to protect her from the often frigid temperatures here at synagogue, it did not detract one iota from her grace and dignity. That's just how elegant a person she was. Today, we pay tribute to the many ways she touched us, left her mark on us, uplifted us, and inspired us. So I'm going to call upon a few very special people to share some memories with us. And I'm going to start with one of her dearest friends. As many of you know who are here, Gloria had many, many, many friends in life because she was such a dear friend to others. I'm going to ask Jerry Ketcher to join us on the bima. Jerry was a lifelong dear friend and a partner of Howard's in business.
Tell me if you can't hear me. I met Gloria Goodman more than 60 years ago on a blind date. I was new in town, single, searching. She was recommended to me as beautiful, the school queen that you heard about, athletic, strong leader, smart. What could go wrong? Everything. I never had a chance. When I arrived at her home, which was actually her parents' home because single girls then tended to live at home, and the home was just a few blocks from this temple. She opened the door and looked down at me and my puny stature. But that didn't stop her from polishing off a huge roast beef dinner. Also didn't stop her from talking incessantly about another guy. Unnamed, whom she had recently met. Like me, he was a lawyer, a native of Brooklyn, a graduate of Brooklyn College, and as a bonus, his parents and her parents happened to have been in the same business. You might say the oil and gas industry. They both operated service stations. Coincidentally, I met that fellow a few weeks later at lunch in a Hialeah cafeteria. We soon became friends and then partners for 40 years. And so Gloria and I, in a sense, became mishpacha, both married to Howard. My marriage was weekdays 9 to 5. Gloria had nights, weekends, and holidays. Bigamy can work. But while it took many months for Howard and I to agree to join forces, Gloria's attraction to him was immediate. She was in love. Howard was going to be her husband. She told me that shortly after their first date, she happened to run into him at a party. He was simply chatting with another girl. The sight so upset Gloria, she was sickened, had to flee the party, and go home to recover. As you know, she never really recovered. Her adoration for Howard was permanent, and their feelings were mutual. There were a few of Howard's habits that she did try to change. High on his list was his tennis. Although I taught him to play, I was never able to teach him to try to win. Howard's goal in playing tennis was to keep the ball in play, to be polite. He wanted his opponent to reach the ball and return it. Tennis was for running, exercising, sweating. Gloria, on the other hand, knew that the score did matter. She was a fierce competitor, a graceful, natural athlete. I was a competitor too. We never converted Howard. But surprisingly, Gloria was more successful in helping Howard evaluate people who wanted to do business with him. Howard trusted people, liked to assume that they would act ethically and fair, because that's the way Howard was. But Gloria was more realistic. She had an amazing sensor for detecting the bad guys. Howard soon appreciated her skills and would find ways for her to screen new people before he became deeply involved. He avoided lots of problems. And Gloria helped our business in other ways. When we were forming our first bank, we had to raise $1 million. A lot of money. And neither of us came from wealthy families. But Gloria's mother's family, the Blocks, were more affluent. And she encouraged them to subscribe to the stock. And with their investment, and those of our friends, many of whom are still in this room, we could exercise majority control, which proved to be crucial when some of the stockholders attempted to take over management. During their marriage, she ceded much of the spotlight to Howard. But when it came to family, her causes, her friends, she was front and center, energetic, devoted. One of Gloria's longest standing friends from high school, Judy Battelle, who's with us today, told me of her recent visit with Gloria, during which Judy thanked Gloria for her emotional support and advice after Jordan's death. Gloria replied to her very simply, "I did that with a warm heart." Many of us have felt that warmth. I know I did when I faced turmoil in my personal life, and Gloria was there for me in every way. But because Howard was such a strong force in their marriage, people wondered how she would handle decision-making after he died. No one should have been concerned. As the rabbi said, she was a natural matriarch in managing the family's welfare, assuming the responsibilities firmly, reasserting the leadership role of her youth. You all know how well she handled her declining health, never complaining about failing eyesight, need for oxygen, painful back issues, and finally cancer. No self-pity, just the opposite, upbeat, focusing on the good things in her life, how fortunate she and her family had been. Clear-eyed, pragmatic, continued interest in current political and social issues, keeping herself fully informed. She was again the competitor, struggling to stay with us because she was still enjoying life. She battled until her body gave out. And when she realized that recovery was impossible, she faced death with dignity, with grace, setting an example for all of us. From time to time over the past 20 years, she would ask me, "How am I doing? Would Howard be proud?" I'm sure she already knew the answers, and all of us today know those answers as well. Gloria, we love you, we will miss you, and we thank you for leaving us with wonderful memories.
Thank you for those extraordinary reflections. It's really beautiful. Gloria was always surrounded by love. She grew up with her brother Marty and her beloved husband Howard and her absolutely devoted children, Carrie, Peggy, David, and Amy, who was there taking care of her for the past several months, taking care of her every need. Whenever I spoke to Gloria, somebody was there with her. If she was hungry for steak, they ran out and got her steak. They kept her company. They made these last bitter months sweet for her and for them. And so I'm going to invite her 3 children up to share some thoughts and reflections that they have put together collectively.
It does kind of look like my bar mitzvah album. Although I am the one reading this, this is a true collaboration of thought and words by the 3 of us. We would like to thank everyone for being here today. We have received so many calls, texts, emails, and heard so many beautiful words. Dad gave me this. So many beautiful words about our mother from the community, about her kindness, her warmth, her smile, her elegance, her joie de vivre, her generosity, her sense of fun, and the impact she's made and the sense of loss that will be felt by so many. We feel proud to know that our mother has touched so many in this way, and grateful that the values that she instilled in us by her own example are honor-worthy. Kaved et avicha ve'et imecha. Honor thy father and mother, says the 5th commandment. No problem. Just as was true of our father, we feel blessed that we view our mother as so worthy of our honor. As we are well into our 50s, we are that much more keenly aware of it, and we can only hope that our own children view us that way. Our parents' marriage was one of great love. It was a traditional 1950s-style marriage. Dad, the patriarch, Mom, the adoring wife. Some of her friends worried about how Gloria would manage to carry on without Howard. Sure, she missed him greatly. She occasionally said that she no longer had that one most special person that only a spouse or partner can be. What she did have, though, was 6 at the time and eventually 10 grandchildren, 3 children and their spouses, and so many friends. And she cared so much about each of these relationships and knew how to nurture them. Thank you. Anybody? I'm going to start over. She knew how to nurture them. She always showed up. She cheered, she called, she wrote letters, she entertained, she made plans, she traveled. She knew that relationships require effort, and she had endless reserves of energy to devote to them. She had so many friends because she was a good friend. She made everyone feel as though they were important because they were to her. You were to her. She always said that when you decide to be someone's friend, you embrace them for who they are, and you focus on what you like about them and ignore what you don't like, because she focused on the big picture, which for her was that life is so much richer with friends. She also used to say, I don't know why I'm crying. I don't know why I'm crying. What kept her living well and even reinventing herself after Dad died was her skill in keeping an eye on what mattered and living accordingly. One of her greatest strengths, in retrospect, was knowing what was important and what was superfluous. Her guiding desire to have a strong community and to contribute to it allowed her to keep perspective on how to live and not get caught up in petty quibbles or slights. Sure, she was a natural extrovert, but she also knew that nothing happens without effort, and she always made the effort to maintain relationships, whether they were with her girlfriends, her family, or organizations in which she was involved. And she threw parties like nobody's business. She instinctively knew that if she wanted to be invited out by friends, she should never indulge in self-pity or complaints. She continued living her life despite so many physical obstacles that presented themselves in these last 18 years. Breast cancer, she barely remembered that she had it and moved on. Macular degeneration, which progressively stole her vision, she continued to go to movies, plays, synagogue, art exhibitions until the very end, making sure to sit in the front row and then satisfied with seeing as much as she could see and not dwelling on what she couldn't see. Back problems that left one of her legs unable to move properly so that walking became slow and labored and she walked with a walker. Okay, but it didn't stop her. She still went on to galas and art fairs. She still traveled because she was clear about what she wanted. Everything else was just details to be handled. That same clarity was also what always made you know exactly what Chloe was feeling. Oftentimes her reactions were genuine, enthusiastic, and delivered in all caps. Oh yes, I love it. How beautiful, lovely, the most gorgeous, definitely. A shrinking violet she was not. Appearance mattered to her. Mom loved beautiful things, and she took pleasure in the efforts required to maintain a lovely home and to always be well presented. Although she never studied art history, she had a good eye, which served her well in her art collecting. As a Miami native, she relished the natural beauty of this area and cultivated an outstanding garden at the Battersea home. Even in her apartment, beautiful flowers were always in abundance. She had pretty high standards, which she knew weren't always welcome. To her credit, she would try, however, unsuccessfully, to stifle those annoying gestures which were code for fix your hair, stand up straight, shoulders back. And while her eyesight was eventually pretty limited, she unfortunately never failed to notice the extra pound or 5 you may have gained. As so many of you know, in the last several months, as she was ill, Mom made caring for her and being around her so easy. In the same way she was able to overlook a friend's shortcomings, she took all of the challenges associated with her various medical problems as mere obstacles to wellness that she was determined to overcome. She did not complain. She did not pity herself. She did not ask us to do more. In fact, she often implored us to do less. I don't want you to miss blank, a night out with friends, the Pam Gala, an art show one of us may be preparing for, or a sister's opening one of us may be going to attend. She wanted our worlds to keep going on and accepted whatever we had to give and accepted whatever we were unable to give. Throughout the past few months, Mom was bolstered by the constant attention of a great number of friends and family. You called, you visited, you cooked, you catered, you sat with her in dialysis, you cheered her on, you enriched her life until her very last breath. You were also invaluable resources for us. You cheered us on, you counseled us, you taught us how to talk to Mom's doctors. You taught us how to interpret a differential blood test report, because you have to watch out for those neutrophils. And you helped us and Mom feel secure in the recognition that her body's decline was inevitable and unconquerable, though sadly not her mind's. She was a fighter. But when it became clear that nothing more could be done, she took that with such grace. We never felt like we were quitting the fight. We simply recognized that it was time to transition to making sure that her remaining moments were as pleasant and comfortable as possible. There are several people who need special recognition. We would sincerely like to thank Miriam Perez, whose importance to Mom can't be overstated, Kenya Dibb, Ira Atwell, Colette Jimenez, Sabrina King, Coretta Burke, Evelyn Esquivel, Dominique Blank. Dominique was responsible for helping maintain Mom's regal look for 30 years. His last visit was just a few days ago for a gentle massage and a quick brush to keep her feeling vibrant. Bobby and Susie Carrillo, Michael Blasberg, Dr. Marcos Eskenazi and his brother, Dr. Eskenazi, and his brother, Dr. Eskenazi. Dr. Rodney Benjamin, Dr. Harry Aldrich, the entire team from South Miami Hospital, Baptist Hospital, and the Baptist Health Foundation, and the staff at the Gables Club and the Gables Club Restaurant. We conclude with the following message that Mom dictated to Kenya just a week or two ago and asked that it be shared today. These are Mom's words. I want to thank each member of my family and each of my friends for all the love and support they gave me during the past few months. With love, Gloria.
Thank you, David, Carrie, Peggy. What a beautiful tribute to your beautiful mother. She was so proud of her children, but even more, she was proud of her 10 grandchildren. Marley, Naomi, Ellie, Howard, Max, Sophia, Molly, Sarah, Annie, and Harry, you beautiful children. So I'm going to invite you all to come up and share a few thoughts about your grandmother.
I think this is extra hard because I just kind of thought Chloe was always going to be in that front row seat here. So a few of Chloe's grandchildren will be speaking today, representing the others. We've all discussed together. I'll introduce myself first, even though I know and love almost everyone in this room. I'm Marley. I'm David's oldest daughter. Following me will be Annie, Carrie's oldest, and then Molly will speak, Peggy's daughter. On Friday afternoon, the cousins sat together and shared the stories, the memories, and the parts of Chloe we don't want to forget. The themes that rose to the surface, among many, were her elegance, which I'll be speaking about, encouraging us to be our best selves, and how she was happiest with us all together. Then we swapped the anecdotes that make you laugh out loud about Chloe, like how she left Northwestern because she had already dated all the tall enough Jewish guys. Or how she'd retire from her lavish parties early, saying, "I hope you all continue to celebrate and enjoy, but I'm going to bed." After Howie died, Chloe showed us what it meant to honor someone who is no longer with us. There was nothing taboo about looking to the sky and saying, "Hi, Howie," about wishing he was here with us for the next milestone. She reminded us how special he was and what he meant to her. The cousins, all of us together, vowed to honor Chloe, to carry her light forward, because though she has already gone to bed, just like at her lavish parties, I can hear her saying, "I hope you all continue to celebrate and to enjoy." Elegance can be surface level, but with our Chloe, it is truly without question that her elegance was deep-seated. Her elegance was embodied in good posture, a warm, glowing smile, composure, and hairspray. This elegance and regality, words I've heard over and over these past few days to describe my beautiful grandmother, were integral to her person. Her friends have told us that she was by far the most popular girl at Miami Beach Senior High, like the rabbi said. She was queen of her senior class, which now I heard is for 2 years. And because the popularity was so well warranted and so based in kindness and generosity, she didn't peak in high school. Chloe remained popular amongst her friends, our parents' friends, and even my friends. The amount of friends from my generation, from our generation, reaching out and telling us how much they loved Chloe and will miss Chloe is a true testament to the everlasting and timeless nature of Chloe's radiance. Even in the hospital, Chloe was so thoroughly herself. Even without the immaculate clothes, hair, and shoes, she had such an unmistakable elegance. She was still the most elegant woman in any room. When one of the nurses left the room and said, "I love you, Gloria," it was icing on the cake, proof I didn't need but was so moved to see that Chloe was a queen and everyone whose life she touched loved her. It is hard for me to imagine life without my '1 fan. The matriarch who was so impressed by each one of us, so unequivocally supportive of all of our accomplishments, so in love with my being in love, so proud to be a part of the family she helped create. I am so proud to be her granddaughter. I already miss her so much. And I will think of her at Shabbat dinners, at trips to the theater, and every time I work to embody her kind elegance. And I see that in my cousins. So every time, we will carry her light.
Chloe wanted each one of us to be the best version of ourselves. She was our biggest cheerleader and the most supportive person I know. I remember when I was very young, when Chloe still lived in her old house on Battersea Road, sitting in bed with her, talking. She asked me if I knew the Shema prayer, and I said I didn't. She told me to repeat after her as she said, Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad. Hear, O Israel, the Lord our God, the Lord is one. Thank you, dear God, for all my blessings. God bless Mom, Dad, Harry, Chloe, and all my relatives and friends, and help me to be the best Annie I can be. Amen. She told me to repeat it every night before bed, and I did. But what I didn't realize was that the last part wasn't part of the Hebrew translation. She had added that part for me. She taught it to my mom, Peggy, and David when they were young, and they taught it to their children too. Looking back on it now that I know the Shema like the back of my hand, I realize how much that memory encapsulates Chloe. She always encouraged us to be our best selves. Chloe cared so much about our lives and our passions. She made the trip to Wesleyan to see Ellie's capstone musical. She listened to Molly's screenplay. She came to Naomi's college graduation and sat inside watching it on a private projector so that she could see. She sat front row at Marley's shows. She would patiently hear me describe my thesis on desalination, which she didn't really understand, but she was so interested in it, simply because I cared so much about it. Chloe's ability to listen has been so meaningful to us. She would listen to us talk about anything, ranging from our passions to the mundane things that had happened to us, always wanting to know more, asking more questions about our days, our friends, and what we're enthusiastic about. I've never met anyone so genuinely invested in other people's lives. As a grandmother, Chloe both encouraged us to do the things we love and derive joy from our excitement in our passions. What an incredible quality that she taught us, to care so much about the people you love that you delight in their passions as if they were your own. I can only hope to emulate this quality as I grow older. All the cousins have gone down different paths thus far in our lives, and I feel so lucky that Chloe has enthusiastically encouraged us to pursue our interests, no matter what they are. One of the biggest lessons she taught us, through example, is to own who you are. Chloe never doubted herself, shied away from asking for what she wanted, or pretended to be something she was not. As teenagers and young adults who are in the midst of figuring out who we are so fortunate to have had such a confident and strong leader to instill in us a sense of self from a very young age. Chloe was and will always be our matriarch, and we are so grateful that we are blessed with such a strong, caring woman to be our grandma and to teach us so many important qualities that we will cherish for the rest of our lives.
It didn't occur to me until recently how rare it is for extended families to be as close as ours. I moved to New York recently for college, and when I tell my friends I can't hang out with them because I have plans with my cousins, they can't believe I'm hanging out with my cousins voluntarily. Our family is so loving and connected, and that is Chloe's doing. The summer of 2007, our entire family went to South Africa to celebrate Chloe's 75th birthday. Beforehand, we all received gift bags that included matching sweatshirts that said Chloe Safari on them, which can be seen in almost all of the many pictures from that incredible trip. This was the perfect example of her ability to weave people together. The memories we share from that trip, the adorable baby elephants doing handstands on each other, the monkeys stealing Ellie and Naomi's food, the Shabbat dinners by the fire pit, have stayed with us to this day. That was my favorite trip I've ever been on, not only because of the trip itself, but because of the sense of camaraderie Chloe created. She was happiest when we were together. I went to stay with Annie at Princeton recently just because I wanted to visit her, and when Annie told Chloe, she was overjoyed. This encouragement to be there for each other is why when all of us cousins met up the other day to write this, we talked about how natural it felt to be together to celebrate her. Celebrating family and friends has been something Glowy has taught us to do our entire lives. This, of course, includes literal gigantic celebrations. Though I wasn't there, I've heard many stories about the pig party after Howard received his pig valve, or Sarah's and my extravagant baby naming. Or even at the hospital recently when a bunch of people came to visit and Glowy told David, "That was a nice impromptu party we threw." Any excuse to bring friends and family together she would take, and she would do so magnificently. During big parties at her house, as Marley said, she would retire to her room before everyone left, but she would always tell everyone to continue enjoying themselves. It was never about her. It was about the joy she could bring other people. She was incredibly social, but she selflessly loved to listen more than she loved to speak. At family dinners, if one of us would quietly say something to our parents about something uninteresting, such as logistics, she would always request we speak louder so she could hear. Even once we explained how uninteresting or unimportant what we were saying was, she said it didn't matter. She just wanted to be part of the conversation. It didn't matter what we were saying. It just mattered that we were all discussing it together. There was nothing she valued more than togetherness. That's why at my dad's old restaurant she had her designated booth, which was officially called Glowy's booth, that had ample room for all the cousins. Or why when she moved into her apartment, she made sure to include a kids' room with enough beds for all of us. Even though it required one single bed, 2 bunk beds, and the only ever triple-decker bed I've ever seen, she made it happen for the sake of us being together. We are all so lucky to have had her as a grandmother, and we are so lucky that she gave us the gift of each other. She was the most amazing role model, and the way she carried on Howard's memory our entire lives has prepared us for carrying on hers.
Thank you all for speaking so beautifully and so much from the heart. And it's easy to see that the love she put out into the universe came back to her tenfold. Annie, the prayer that you spoke of was your grandmother's daily prayer as a child. She would say, "Please help me to be the best I can be." And these were not empty words. They were the way she lived her life, the best she could be. And she always saw the best in people and in life and found a reason to smile every single day. When I last saw her, she said that her life had been perfect, with her only possible regret as not seeing Marley walk down the aisle. Sorry, Marley, no pressure. But truly, I know she will be there watching each one of you as you move forward with your lives. You'll always feel that shelter of her love and her presence with you. How blessed she was to know how blessed she was. She died peacefully at home, surrounded by her beloved children, knowing her life had been well lived, leaving a legacy of love, strong values, and dear, dear friends. Our tradition teaches us something unusual about the holiday of Purim. When the Messiah comes, we're taught, all holidays will cease to exist except for the holiday of Purim. Why Purim? It's such a silly, fancy, frivolous holiday. And there are many explanations for this, but what makes sense to me is Esther is the only book in our Bible in which God's name is not mentioned. The story emphasizes the responsibility of human beings and the power that even one person has In the story of Purim, it's Queen Esther. The power that one person has to make a difference. Today, as we bid farewell to our beloved Chloe or Gloria, we bid farewell to a person who made a difference in our lives, in our community, in our world. May her legacy of kindness, of generosity, and of positivity live on through each one of us. Zichrona livracha, may her memory be a blessing. Amen.
My heart is pounding out of my chest for Chloe. Gloria's love for music, for beautiful music, resonated with her soul and was a source of her inner strength and her peace. It was a love that she shared with her family and friends, a love that showed us the power of connection between melody, memory, meaning, intention, voice, and ear, between people, time, and place, and between us and God. The songs I'm about to sing are for Chloe. They are the creation of two strong, passionate, and inspirational Jewish women. One is by Hannah Senesh, a young Zionist of Hungarian descent who was a special operations paratrooper. She was one of 37 Jews who parachuted to Yugoslavia during World War II with a mission to rescue Hungarian Jews from the Nazis. Her poem, A Walk to Caesarea, commonly known as Eli Eli, and composed by David Zahavi, reflects the beauty she experienced walking on the beach of Israel's Mediterranean coast. The other is by Naomi Shemer. In Al Kolele, Shemer shows how the personal and the national are woven together, expressing the sentiment that has been part of the Jewish experience for centuries: a deep desire to protect loved ones, understanding that terrible things may come, praying for God's grace, alongside the ability to accept the good with the bad. My God, may these things never end. The sand and the sea, the rustle of the water, the lightning in the sky, the prayer of man. Over the honey and the stinger, over the bitter and the sweet, over our daughter, our baby, my God, watch over what is good, over the flame that is burning, over the water running pure, over the man returning home from far away. Over all these, God, please watch over them for me. Over the honey and the stinger, over the bitter and the sweet. Do not uproot what is planted. Do not forget the hope. Return me, and I will return to the good land. Watch over this house for me, my God, the garden and the wall. Protect them from pain, from sudden fear, and from more. Watch over me, the little I have, the light, the baby, over the fruit that has not ripened, and over what has already been reaped.
רשרוש של המים על המר והמתוק, על בתנו התינוקת, שמור לי הטוב, על האש המבוערת, על המים הזכים, על האיש השב הביתה מן המרחקים, על כל אלה, על כל אלה, שמור נא לי אלי הטוב, על הדבש ועל העוקץ, על המר והמתוק, על נתק ונטוע, אל תשכח את התקווה, השיבני ואשובה אל הארץ הטובה. שמור לי על זה הבית, על הגן, על החומה, מיגון, מפחד פתע וממלחמה. שמור על המעט שהשאיר, על האור ועל הטף, הפרי שלא הבשיל עוד ושנאסף. על כל אלה, על כל אלה, שמור נא לי אלי הטוב, על הדבש ועל העוקץ, על המר והמתוק.
God, you give us loved ones and make them the strength of our life, the light of our eyes. They depart and leave us bereft on a lonely way. But you are the living fountain from which our healing flows. To you, the stricken look for comfort and the sorrow-laden for consolation. O God, we see life as through windows that open on eternity. We see that love endures and the soul endures as you, O God, endure forever. We see that the years are more than grass that withers, more than flowers that fade. They weave a timeless pattern in a world that is the dwelling place of your love and your glory. We rise now for the Almalei Rachamim.
El Malei Rachamim, shochen b'meromim, hamsei menucha nechona, tachat kanfei hashechina, im kedoshim utohorim, Kizohar Rakia Mazehirim Et Nishmat Meti Bat Shoshana V'Yakov Yosef Shehalcha Le'olama Ma'al Harachamim Yastirei habitzei kanafav leolamim, vitzror hachayim et nishmata. Adonai hu nachalata, v'tanuach
בשלום על משכבו ונאמר Amen.
Compassionate God, eternal Spirit of the universe, grant perfect rest in your sheltering presence to Gloria Charlin, who has entered eternity. O God of mercy, let her find refuge in your eternal presence, and let her soul be bound up in the bond of everlasting life. God is her inheritance. May she rest in peace. And let us all say, Amen.
May I ask all the grandchildren, please come forward and act as pallbearers. The family will be sitting Shiva today. At approximately 4:30, they'll return home at the Gables Clubhouse at 10 Edgewater Drive. There'll be a minyan at 5:30. Again on Monday and Tuesday, this time in Gloria's apartment, 10 Edgewater Drive, from 5 to 8, minyan both nights at 6 p.m. The procession will be lining up, because we're parked all around the area, on the first bridge westbound. On top of it, Julia Tuttle, there'll be motorcycle escorts to direct us. Those of you that are going to the cemetery, after the casket is passed, you'll follow behind the family. Immediately go to your cars, high beams, flashers, take one of these placards. They're in the lobby, hangs from the mirror. Again, procession on the first span westbound. Just at the top, there'll be motorcycle escorts to direct us. So as the family passes, please follow behind. Thank you. If we could just give us a moment, keep the pathway open, please.